Hi everybody, good evening, happy Wednesday. So happy to be here with you guys today. Well, I'm about a minute or two early, so I'm going to wait for you guys to jump on. I'm here in Texas with Dina. We had a convention or a seminar we went to in Arizona last week, and we decided to get together and work on a few things that we know are going to be life-changing for us and for many of you. So we're really excited to share. I'll wait a few minutes for the rest of you to jump on. Hi Yesenia, thanks for jumping on. Hi Jen, good evening, happy Wednesday. I get to see all the comments now. Hi Heidi, how are you? Happy Wednesday. I'm excited because I figured out how to go live and still. Hi Evelyn, thanks for joining. I figured out how to go live and watch you guys on your comments, so this is neat. Hi Dawn, thanks for jumping on. Very excited. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to take a look at an attachment I uploaded earlier. We're going to be going over it. It's in regards to setting direction. So we've been talking a lot about fear in the mindset. Thank you, Don. We've been looking at how that holds us back. And today I thought I would title it, you know, the conditioning of the brain and the lies that we believe. Because unfortunately, the lies have gotten so good that it just seems like it's our reality, and it's not. And that's one thing that I want to debunk in this series. And my intention for you is for you to reclaim your personal power. I do it every day. So as we mentioned in the previous videos, that it's not something that you just kind of go and, hey, you have personal power, then you're done. You have to continue to remind yourself of the power that you have, and also remind yourself that it's an ongoing job. It's an internal job as well. So we're going to give it a few minutes here, and we're going to get started on social conditioning of fear. Hi Denise, thanks for joining. Hi Rosa, thank you for jumping on. We're going to go back into the book of Motivation Manifesto. There's a lot of really good things I want to pull away from there to help us better understand our mind and how it works. And a lot of us believe that it just is what it is and there's just no way around it. There's been people who say, oh, I was just born this way, or my mom raised me this way. So I'm familiar with how programming works and how when you're raised in a certain family and whatever it is they told you, it just kind of becomes the rule. It is what it is, and you just don't question it. You know, we talked about a little bit about that last week. So I want to talk about the regrets we have at bedtime. Hi Ginger, good evening. So a lot of the conditioning that we have, we're afraid. We're just afraid of whatever might be the case. I want to ask you guys a question. I want to start off with the question. Has there ever been anything in your life that you wanted to do or felt compelled you needed to do, but didn't do it because you were too afraid? Can anybody say yes or no? You don't have to give me the full detail because I know that a lot of you aren't comfortable sharing, but has anybody had regrets? Maybe there was an opportunity that presented itself, and then for some reason or another, you just didn't jump in and later on said, ugh, should have, could have, and then you just, you know, there's no rewind button, so you can't go back. So has anybody experienced that in their lives? Good. Good that I'm not alone. A Facebook Live, Dawn. You're almost ready, Dawn. I see your videos and I'm loving it. I'm loving those videos. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to watch some of the testimonials. Yes, sharing the faith as a young girl. I know, Heidi. Believe me, the struggle, even as an older lady, sometimes it's hard for me. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the Holistic Harmony. Dina and Monica and Penelope have uploaded their testimonials. And Dawn has been sharing some amazing videos, and it's just sparking fire in everybody. And it's so awesome because everybody's so afraid of doing things. And then little do you know, all of a sudden, I want to do a video. I'm like, go ahead, go, go, go. So it's doing amazing things for some people because what you thought was impossible, hi Annabelle, all of a sudden you do it and you just can't get enough of it, right? I know Dawn, when she first started, if I may, Dawn, I'm going to throw you under the bus. When she first started with her videos, I know she was a little nervous, and now she's just popping them out like crazy, and you're doing an amazing job. I'm so proud of you. And that I know is a perfect example of stepping out in fear. Like doing the live calls for me, it was super, super scary. And unless, you know, I was kind of pushed into it, I probably would have never done it. And now I'm getting so many compliments and people that can relate. And it makes me want to keep going. Like, it doesn't get any easier for me when I get on Facebook Live, or maybe it does, but I'm getting a little braver, I guess. Or it's not as easy, but I'm getting a little braver. And that's kind of one of those things that we have to weigh out. You know, do we just jump in and go ahead and maybe screw up? Or do we just not do it and regret it? You know, that's something that we have to pretty much, you know, balance out. You know, you have to figure out, do you want to have regrets? Or do you just want to try to, maybe it's not perfect, but hey, at least you tried it. Does anybody ever feel like they just want to jump in and say, who cares? Whatever it is, it's just gonna be, and I have no control. Anybody? This week, my prayer for you guys was for God to just reveal things to you. Things that maybe you don't really think about, but little setbacks you may have because there are things that are going on in life that you may think is not a big deal, but for some reason they're tugging at your heart. You know, this is weird. Why does this bother me if it's not a big deal? Yes, Don, it definitely is. And let me tell you, those videos, if you guys haven't had a chance to watch them, please do. Please do, because a lot of the girls were pushed out of their comfort zone. I know a lot of the girls I was pushing because I wanted to see them. They have such amazing testimonies. And then from there, it's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I want to do it. And all these people are now getting to learn more of the benefits. And all the testimonials are very, very emotional. I know I got a few teary-eyed on a few. And just to think that we have the stuff we can share, right? And so many of us, because we're scared, because we think we don't know enough, because we feel maybe it's not the right time, or somebody else will tell them, or I can't teach a class, or I'm too afraid, or I'm too embarrassed. And those are the thoughts that everybody goes through. And I can tell you that a lot of the girls that I've spoken to, and guys, they're afraid. They thought they could never teach a class, and then before you know it, they're teaching classes left and right. And it makes them super real because you're not faking anything. Nobody's giving you a script to say, hey, you know, this is what you need to do, read it off, and, you know, be this actor. Dawn says it perfectly. You know, the imperfect video is part of the charm, and it keeps it real. And it's so true, because how Dawn videotapes or how I videotape are totally different, and we're going to relate to different people. Now, I know Monica put her testimonial up, and I think it was Marina who asked, hey, can I share this video? I have people that would be interested. I'm like, ask Monica. You could probably upload it and share it to that person. And so it created the excitement that I think that we needed. It's all the buzz right now. You know, it's a little nerve-wracking, but there's going to be so much more coming, and I'm so excited for what God's going to do. It scares the devil when we become confident. It scares him because he's very comfortable with us being stagnant, feeling sorry for ourselves, going through a hard time. And not to say they're not legitimate, but it's what we do with those times that really make things, what really makes an impact is, what do you do with it? You know, do you sit there and kind of mope, or do you create something different? Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. I needed some water. So I want to share a little something. I was in Arizona, as I mentioned, this past weekend, and I got some really bad news on Friday, I believe it was. Thursday, Friday. And I wanted to curl up into a ball and hide under a rock. Because, you know, according to me, it would have been appropriate to do that. So I had invested a lot of time and energy in a company that was going to help me help other people. And it turns out that it was a fraud. Now, this is 8 months, almost 8 months of investing in personal growth and training and hours. And I got that news, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. But let me tell you what the amazing part was, that I was surrounded with women, and they don't know my business. I didn't tell them, but I was surrounded with a bunch of ladies that were going for personal growth, learning to develop ourselves, grow our business, grow our minds. And it just seemed like it was a really good place to be. Like, God knew exactly when to allow that news to come to light. You know, if I was at home, in bed or whatever, it probably would have hit me a little differently. So it brought me to a point where I thought, you know what? This is why it's so important for us to be around like-minded, positive people. Because when they tell you it's going to be okay, you believe it. You just do, because you know they're going to be there, they're fighting, they're still struggling, they're still pushing through, and they're not giving up. So it's so important to surround yourself around positive people that are striving to become better every single day. We talked about how last week it's okay to help people, to keep lifting them up, but it's also very important to be around in a circle of people that really want to see you succeed, that want you to be happy, that are going to help you become stronger, because the struggles are going to continue to come. They don't stop. But you do become stronger, and that's the important thing. So going back to the beliefs that we have, Rosa, thank you. Yes, praise God. One day I'm going to have my own company. So I'm okay, but it was a good learning experience. Like I said, I could have allowed those thoughts to defeat me, but I couldn't. And at that time, I was a Dina, and Dina kind of knows what I've been through these past few months. I've shared with her, and she's like, you need to get your own company, and they tell me that, and it's scary, but I'm like, yeah, I do. So again, being around the like-minded people, the positive people, is exactly what you need to be around. So again, this just happened a couple of days ago, so I'm good. I'm going. I could not miss out on hanging out with you guys, and I'm dealing with some stuff, but you know, life is life, and I'm so excited that I have the tools that help me get over, and those are the ones that I want to share with you. Okay, so we go back to mindset and the fear, and whether or not you were raised a certain way or programmed, you do have the ability to change that. If you're feeling, I think it was somebody on Facebook, one of the girls here had mentioned she was having a really bad day and she wanted to blow up and she was going to lose it. And I kept thinking, okay, Lord, remind her the power of her thoughts. Remind her the power of her words. And I know you know who you are because you're on here. But I almost responded. I almost said, don't say those things, and you're going to be okay. But I said, you know what? Let me allow her to remind herself that no matter what happens, you have the power to either make it a horrible, horrible thing or worse than it is, or just say, you know what? It's a setback. It's going to be all right and things are going to get better. So that's the encouraging word that I have for you who was had a rough time this past week. I wanted to talk a little more about the lies that we tell ourselves. Now, I don't know if any of you struggle with this, but when you go to bed at night and your head hits the pillow, how many of you have no regrets? You feel like you've seized the day and you live the day to the fullest. How many of you feel that way? Anybody? I wasn't going to say anything, but you outed yourself. I'm holding you girls accountable, okay? I'm watching. So I don't know about you, but there was times in life where I went to bed at night and I just was full of regret. I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't finish this. And that was my nightly thing. And my husband can tell you that I would stay up 2, 3 in the morning stressing out. And there was times where I was so frustrated. I tell him, I would tell him, how are you sleeping when we have all this going on? And he's like, what are you going to do at 2, 3 in the morning? You know? And he goes, we can't fix it right now. We have to just wait. And that was like news to me. I wanted to stress about everything. I just wanted to stress about everything. When I started figuring out how to deal with my stressors, I started sleeping a little better. We all have 24 hours in the day. And my biggest thing, what I like to coach on, is management of your time. And everybody's different. We have moms, we have wives, we have husbands, we have kids. I mean, there's just so many demands that are placed on us on a daily basis. And my thing is, what are you doing in those 24 hours to take care of you? You know, how many of us are sitting there plugging ourselves in, spending me time? And I can honestly say that a majority of people don't do that. So life is passing by on a daily basis. And what I want you guys to remember is that you control your time. Time doesn't control you. So a lot of what I find in dealing with clients is they're beating themselves up for not doing enough in a day. Well, it's not like you get any less time than anybody else. But just like we have to take care of our time, our money, our finances, we also have to take care of our time. And that's what I want to help you guys do, is really reflect on what time that you have and what you can do with that time. Okay? we're going to get into a little bit of the manifesto, motivation manifesto, and I'm going to read slowly because I really want you guys to pay attention. I don't know, not pay attention. I want you guys to listen to what I say. I know you pay attention. There's a file that I uploaded earlier, and we're going to go over that in a little bit, but I really wanted to set the tone with something called the social conditioning of fear and where that is. So I'm going to read that to you, and I just want you guys to reflect. If there's anything that I say, if you have a notepad next to you, or if you have a pen, if you can just jot down anything that kind of resonates with you, because when you read this or you listen to it, there's certain things that kind of just jump out, you know, and it's not like, oh, that was good. There's certain things that kind of resonate with us. I know this book, I read it over and over again, and every time I read it, it's just so powerful. I'm like, wow, this is really impacting me right now. So we're going to talk a little bit, and we're going to read about this here. It starts with saying, why are some people more driven by fear than freedom? It can only be because in the past they were conditioned to be fearful, either by those around them or by their poor applications of mental faculties. There is no genetic curse or personality trait that permanently condemns one person to fear more than another. Even a genetic predisposition for anxiety can ultimately be flipped on or off by mental conditioning. We are not slaves to our history. We can be freed by our conscious thoughts and disciplined habits. So again, conscious thoughts are present, we know about them, and then disciplined habits. So we need to be consistent and disciplined in what we're doing. Okay, hi Monica, you both jumped on at the same time. Hi Beth. Let us begin with understanding how fear is socially conditioned. Fearful people tend to be shaped by past interactions. They were pushed and molded into being timid, weak, and afraid by the critical parents, bullying peers, or small-minded teachers and bosses. The people around them were always cautioning or harming them, and so they became habituated to the impulse of fear. It came up so often they got used to it. From a fearful past, they have generated a fear-driven present. You know how it talks about creating a habit? You know, they say 21 days it creates a habit. The thinking process is the same. If you're raised a certain way or you hear it enough, after a while it just becomes the norm. And that's what we talked about earlier. It goes on to say, this is not to blame our past or excuse our fears. When people choose to fear an adult, they are choosing not to manage or overcome it. So as an adult, you're choosing not to overcome it, is what it says. I'm sorry. This is difficult work for many because fear has become their default impulse. The thoughts rolling their mind and their self-talk replay the cutting barbs of the critics and misguided caretakers who once deemed them. The good news is we can change this conditioning. When we awaken to responsibility, we realize that nothing can be done about our past but to see it from a new perspective. We can release ourselves from its grip. We cannot control how others treated us yesterday. So let us work instead on understanding how we are currently dealing with those who stoke our fear today, including yourself. The great efforts to move our lives forward always come down to a new moment when we interrupt our fear and activate our freedom by choosing how to feel. Interpret and direct our lives. Part of the mastery of life comes from the anticipating that the same kinds of characters that sought to instill fear yesterday shall be met again today or tomorrow. Knowing this, we become wary of people who chip away at our freedom. These are the worriers, the weaklings, and in rare cases, the wicked. So it talks a little bit about the past. You know, it's kind of like, well, you know, it's really cold, so make sure you have a jacket. And then the next day, oh, the weather looks the same, so you're assuming it's going to be the same thing, right? And sometimes we guess it, but sometimes we don't. So it goes back to talking about somebody who worries. Sometimes when you worry, you just stay worried to be prepared. Well, just in case. Well, just in case. So this is what it's talking about. Sometimes we're just so programmed to be a certain way that that's just the way we are because we just never know. Some people describe it as building a wall, right, to protect yourself. Some people say, well, I'm going to just be like this and nobody phases me or they cannot hurt me again. And sometimes when somebody's hurt you, you go on to another relationship and subconsciously you end up hurting that person when they had nothing to do with the hurt that you experienced in the past. So every day is similar to this. You take on a day, you had a bad day yesterday. Oh, wow. That was yesterday. Yesterday's gone. Today hasn't done anything to you. Does that make sense? Do you agree that every day should be started fresh? not carrying yesterday's worries or whoever hurt you yesterday? Is everybody okay with letting it go and just starting a new day? Are we good with that? Good. Most worriers are not unkind people. So don't think that just because you worry you're an unkind person or you don't know better. It's not that, okay? They have no clue of the fear they impose on our lives. So this is talking about the people that drag us down. You're around some people and, be careful. And be careful. You shouldn't start that business because who knows? Don't. And they're trying to protect you because they worry. It doesn't mean they don't love you or care about you. But sometimes they do suck that energy out of us. Like we're all happy. Like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. No, let's go do this instead. And they're like, they don't mean to be mean, but that's what happens. Okay? So keep that in mind when we're talking about this a little further. So it says they have no clue of the fear they impose on our lives or the way their insensitive voices or doubts oppress our potential. They don't see that they cause treachery by arguing for us to play it safe. It's the loving mother who says, "Careful, honey," at every turn as her child goes about the normal activities of childhood. The coworker who gives 10 reasons why we might get in trouble and not a single word about how we might change the world. The lover who incessantly fears we as a couple are going to fail and keeps imploring us to back down from the fight or from the edge of any risk. These people believe they are thoughtful, loving, and protective. Their cautious words are most often delivered from a loving place. They want good for us. They feel a duty to protect us from hurt. And so they try to direct us towards the well-worth paths that they understand. These are our parents, friends, peers, lovers, neighbors, and leaders. It's an awkward social reality. We must protect ourselves from being limited by those who care for us as much as by those who blatantly oppose us. What can be done? We must learn to hear about worry and anxiety with great acuity, and we must not integrate other people's fears into our own decision making. Developing this kind of acuity is easy for the conscious person. Since almost all worriers use the same language and arguments, they favor cautioned reason as their shield of choice in protecting us. Their matter-of-fact tones or phrases all around the same. So, does anybody hear things like this from those that worry way more than we worry ourselves? Sometimes I'm not worried and somebody's worried for me, and subconsciously it makes me worried. I'm like, what? I was fine before I talked to this person. Like, why am I all of a sudden scared? And a lot of times they tell you, drop negative people, drop the toxic people. Well, it's not that easy. You can't just drop a friend you've had for 20 years, for 10 years, Yes, they might not be making the best choices. And yes, they might be struggling, to have a better life. So it doesn't mean cut them off, but be cautious of what they do for you. And maybe less time spent with them is better. Because the same time you spent trying to uplift them could be the time that you could be uplifting yourself. Does that make sense? Is anybody here spending a little more time reflecting on themselves instead of other people this week? Did anybody do that this week? Did anybody have any aha moments? Good. I know some people had some aha moments. They reached out and they let me know, and I said, good, pay attention, more are coming. So a lot of what we talk about too is things that, people really do love us and they do care about us. But sometimes the only way they know to love is to keep us limited from the things that we want to do. I know ever since I was young, I've always had this urge to own my own business. Yeah, Yesenia, they bring momentum down. And Rosa's like, yep. We've been around those people. And it's funny because I always wonder, like, am I crazy because I think that I can do it? Should I just give up? This incident that happened just this past weekend, like I, for a second, thought maybe I should just give up, and it was like, no, don't give up. You're going to have your own business. And like Rosa made a comment, like, you're going to have your own company. Dina was like, no, you're going to be fine. Yesenia's supportive. Like, I have really close friends that don't even let me wallow for a minute. And if it weren't for their support and their constant affirmations, I wouldn't be where I am today. I have a long ways to go. But I've been around a lot of people that just tell me, you should just give up, just go to work, go get a paycheck like everybody else. So I get a lot of that too, but I notice that I don't spend too much time with them. And I know that in the past, when I do, I could be doing really, really good. And if I hang out too long with them, my mind is just, it doesn't matter how strong you think you are. If you're around people like that, it happens. Anybody? Can anybody? Can anybody relate to that? We all have those people. And it doesn't mean they don't love us. They're just not the best energy that we need to be around. I'm going to go over a couple things with you guys, and it's in the document that I uploaded earlier. It's called, I typed it out from the book, and it's called Setting a Direction. So a lot of times we can sit and we get emotional about the things that have happened. We get discouraged, and then we lack direction. Okay? Now, before direction, some people spend all their lives trying to figure out what their purpose in life is, but they're standing still. And I know Joyce Meyer's real funny. She says, well, God doesn't drive a parked car. And it resonated with me. Because for years I kept wondering, what does God want for my life? What's my purpose? And I would sit there and wallow in it because I didn't know what it was. But I would stop and stand still. And I know now that the devil was loving it. He was loving me being frozen because I wasn't making an impact. I wasn't, trying to help people develop their full potential. So he was loving it. And it's funny because I think about it now, like doing the oils and sharing, like with all these testimonies, it's made me so happy just looking at how everybody's stepping out in faith and facing their fears and not worried about the negative mindset. And I'm sure people tell them, aren't you afraid of messing up? Aren't you? But they're just doing it anyway. They're doing it afraid. And that's how we're supposed to do it. You're supposed to just do it afraid. And then once you do it, everything in life, once you face your fears, it gets easier and easier as you do it. We're going to talk about setting direction for your life. Like we've all had these past couple of weeks to really reflect on where we need to improve. I've had a lot of people reach out and say, you know what, I need to work on that. That's not the best thing. I really want to do this. I really want to do that. And I said, well, what do you want to do? Because they say that a goal that is written down is easier attained. You can have goals till you're blue in the face. But if it's not written down and you don't have steps on how you can try to get there, you might not know all the steps. But you have the first steps, right, to get things going. So in this sheet, it talks about writing your own manifesto. What do you want to see for yourself? What do you want to see you be in a week from now? How do you want to see yourself in a month? Do you want to sit down during the day and not like what you see in your life? Do you want to go to bed and put your head on the pillow and have regrets? A very important thing to do is every morning, what I do is I write a to-do list. What am I going to do today? Sometimes at night because I can't stop thinking about the next day. But before the day comes and takes control of me, I got to tell the day what we're going to do. If not, it'll overtake me. And I don't know if that happens to the rest of you, but that happens to me. I have to write down what I'm going to do on a daily basis. Or before I know it, the day just kind of creeps up and I don't have anything to say about that day. I want to challenge you guys to write down right now on a piece of paper. I want you guys to write down the 4 to 5 people that you hang out with the most. Just write their names down. Whoever they may be. Whether you think they're a good influence, bad, it doesn't matter. Who are the first 4 to 5 people that you hang out with, that you see yourself hanging out on the weekends, maybe during the week? You text them, you call them. So write those people down. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to write those people down. When you have those people's names written down, I want you guys to look at them without spending too much time right now, but I really want you to look at them, and the ones that you know are going to want to see you succeed in life, like are going to push you and not let you give up and not let you cry, not let you give up. I just want you to put either a dot or a little star next to them. The ones that you know are going to uplift you. If you don't have at least 3 stars on there, I'm going to challenge you to find more people. We're going to be starting a motivational accountability group is what I'm going to call it. I'm in Hesperia, I'm in Victorville, and Dina Adams has offered to open up her house on Friday night this Friday night, next Friday night, February 3rd at 6 o'clock in the city of Hesperia. And I'll post that invitation after the video's over. And I've really been praying about what it is I believe God wants to do in this group, with you, through you, and to you. That's the way. It's got to be a complete circle, right? And there's a couple of things that I know He's tugging at my heart to share with you. And it's not about, oh, business building. It's not about that. It's about really getting to know you, overcoming the beliefs that you've had about you, and the beating yourself up. You know, we have a lot of people that just beat themselves up, and that needs to stop. And I really want to pour into you guys and show you that there is a better way. There is a better way, and this is not for the weak. We're going to start some kind of boot camp where I want you guys to see yourselves in the now, where you're at now, where you see yourself. And it's going to be kind of like, we're going to have a vision board as well, but it's not just going to be something you write down, cut out pictures out of a magazine, put on a board, and that's it. We're going to sit there and talk about your challenges. We're going to talk about what you want. We're going to talk about what you're going to do to get there. And I'm a coach, so I could be a little hard on you, just so you know. So like I said, it's not for the weak, it's not for the faint. We will have accountability. You know, we'll be calling each other. We're going to buddy up. You're going to have a buddy who's not going to let you give up. And yes, there's going to be days where you're not feeling well, and that's okay. But things are going to get better. And being a part of this group, you're going to be surrounded by other people who want the same goals, who are aspiring for greater things, and who really want to see something else in life. So we're going to be talking about goal setting. We're going to be talking about priority-driven goals or tasks, because a lot of us waste time, literally waste time on things that don't matter. And if we can really evaluate, like we'll sit one-on-one and really evaluate what your day looks like and how we can squeeze more time out of it, or make better use of the time. And I know we all need help with that. So sometimes when you get somebody else's perspective who really wants you to succeed, it just changes the whole game. I want you guys to be more involved in the continued positive mindset. How to just kind of pick them up. Like when that happens to me now, I can wallow for a long time, but it's like having a hammer. You have a nail and you have a hammer right there. So you're going to have it here, but it's going to be up to you to pick it up. So we're going to talk about things like that. There's going to be a lot of encouragement in that group. We're going to have a lot of support. And I really want us to break the patterns. We've been programmed to do things a certain way. So that's going to be more intense coaching. Like, I still love being with you guys here on Wednesday nights. And I'm going to continue to do so as long as God permits. But this is something that's been tugging at my heart, to have you guys just a little closer and a little more intimate group where I can actually see you. So if you can make arrangements to come up to Hesperia, or if you're close by, 6 o'clock next Friday at Dina's house, we would really, really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun evening. A lot of pushing out of comfort zones, so get ready. Get ready, because there's a lot of good things to do there. I would love for you guys to go on and take a look at the setting directions page and print it out. It's a couple of questions that I would challenge you to kind of sit down and write. You don't have to share them with anybody. Just print it out and ask you a couple of questions. I've typed it off the book, so you'll be able to see, and it'll give you some clarity to the thoughts that you might have experienced this week, because I know a lot of you have had some revelations this week, and God really wants to use you, and we need to equip you. We all need to get equipped, because there's a lot of good to be done, you guys, and if we're sitting there not doing anything, things aren't going to get done. There's been a lot of testimonies of people that said, I don't know what I would have done if I was never introduced, or I don't know what I've ever would have done if somebody didn't say this or do that. And that convicts me. And I know it convicts a lot of people, but sometimes we just don't have the tools to figure out how to get it done. So that's the job we're going to have together. I shared a story with you, I think it was the last video, when I shared with you that I was terrified of flying. And I ended up going to, it was Puerto Vallarta, and remember I was knees knocking, my friend's like, are you okay? And I'm terrified. I told you I got on the plane and I was tripping out. What I didn't tell you is when I got on that flight, I had to go from from Ontario to Phoenix in this tiny little plane, like tiny, it was like 2 people on each side. So you know, that made it even worse. I'm like, great Lord, I'm stepping out in faith and you're making it even scarier than it needs to be, you know? I laugh about that day. So I was terrified. I get on this little plane that I didn't know how it got off the ground because it was putt-putting the whole time. But there was a really cute little girl sitting next to me. Little girl, she must have been like 19 years old. Well, she had missed her flight. So it was by coincidence that she was on that flight, and I happened to sit next to her. That was my seat. And she shared with me her story. And I couldn't help to be comforted by her. The flight was about 60 minutes, and before I knew it, I was there. So not only was I terrified about going on a plane ride and terrified about that little plane, and God took care of all the details. He took care of who was sitting next to me. Now, from Phoenix to Puerto Vallarta, I had to get on another plane much bigger. And again, God has all these things to worry about. He put the right person sitting next to me. So I was a little on edge. I was super tensed. Again, I was very afraid. I had just gotten off a little plane, and I'm running to the next plane. I don't know how to get from point A to point B, but somehow I made it. So I get into that plane, and there's a real nice man sitting next to me, and apparently he travels all over the world on business. And he sat next to me. He goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm really scared." And he goes, "It's okay." He goes, "I fly all the time. You're going to be just fine." Well, because he flew all the time, for some reason it made it easier for me to believe that I was going to be okay. And he said, "Let me tell you how you know if something goes wrong on the plane." And I'm thinking, do I really want to know? I'd rather not know. But he wanted to offer this information to me. So he said, "Let me tell you." I said, "Okay." And I'm nervous, had a little bag. I'm just trying to relax and I'm praying, but nothing seemed to work. It wasn't that prayer didn't work. I was comfortable being scared because I didn't know what it was going to be to not be scared, if that makes sense. So he sits next to me and he goes, "I want you to pay attention to the stewardess." He goes, "If you see the stewardess move or make eye contact or look at each other, you know something's wrong. But if they're calm, cool, and collected, you know there's nothing wrong." And I said, "Okay." Don't know why it put me at ease. A wise man shared his experiences with me, and he gave me words of comfort. Whether or not it was true, I don't know, but it made me comfortable at the time, so God placed them just in the right spot. He said, "I'll tell you one thing." He goes, "If something goes wrong, I'll shake my leg." And he moved his leg, right? I said, "Okay." He goes, "So just watch out for my leg." So the whole flight is about 3 hours, and I'm on the flight, and we're having a good old time, and I'm talking to him, and I don't even remember what he did for business. And we're almost getting there. So it's really pretty. You see green cliffs, whatever. So I'm already all excited. Yeah, I'm almost there, excited. And he starts moving his leg. Well, automatically it creeped me out because I'm like, he said if he moved his leg, something's wrong. Well, I didn't stop to pay attention to the stewardess. I didn't stop to listen to see if something was going wrong, but his leg moved, and that was a sign to say something's wrong. So of course I panicked. I curled up. I clenched my fist again, and he looked at me and goes, "I'm sorry, I had an itch." So you can imagine how terrified I was when I saw him with his leg. But the thing is this, I wasn't really scared. It was a trigger. He said, if my leg moves, worry. So I wasn't even looking for the leg movement. But when I saw it, it completely freaked me out. And everything else he had said to me didn't matter at the time. I was scared. Didn't matter that he had comforted me or given me words of wisdom prior to that. But it's funny now because I think about that. That's how we are. Everything could be going good. We could be doing awesome things in life. God could be blessing us, putting the right people. We could be successful. But we're still worried something's going to happen because it feels like it's too good to be true. On the flight, I'm like, wow, we're almost here and I'm scared for nothing. And, that's what I get for being so scared. You're going to be good. But right when he moved his leg, it took all that confidence away. And that's how we are in life. I think a lot of us get comfortable in our uncomfortableness and we just leave it that way. When something good happens, we do it for a while and then we kind of quit. I know that when I first started with doTERRA, I was so excited. Everybody and their mom signed up with me and we're like, yay, excited. And all of a sudden, I lost momentum. Now, I don't even know what it was. Was it fear? Was it lack of confidence? I didn't know enough. And I think it was just a combination of everything. It was going so good that I couldn't believe it. And it was just like when the man moved his leg. I'm thinking, you're triggering yourself. Nobody's giving you reason to believe you can't do it. You're the one limiting yourself. You're the one thinking it's too good to be true. And it's true. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it was me. I'm the only one that had control over what I was thinking here because nothing on the outside was impeding me from succeeding. And I think now it's pretty selfish of me not to share more than I should because there's somebody out there that had the same issues I had. And because I'm afraid, they're not going to know. you know, and that's a personal conviction of mine. I share that with you because, again, I want to be transparent with you guys, and I want you guys to be all that you can be. Whether it be in business, as a wife, as a mom, it doesn't matter. The same principle applies to every area of your life. The thing is, when you become strong, and nobody could take that away from you. Nobody could ever take your strength away. You give it away, and that's a choice that you make. Nobody takes it from you. Always remember that. I'm going to share another story about fear and negative self-talk to see if it, you know, resonates with anybody. Last year, I was invited to Paraguay, and this was a personal development. I was selected from a whole bunch of coaches. I was one of the very fortunate ones that was going to go to Paraguay because the president of Paraguay had invited us to develop leaders, to go and coach. The government was ready for bigger and better things, so I was super privileged, and of course I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to go, but God opened doors. So I got my ticket, I did my training, I was so excited, and my flight left, I think it was January 29th at 12 a.m. So that date stuck in my head, 29th at 12 a.m. I said, okay. So I'm busy I was working at the school at the time. Rosa was over actually. And I'm there till super late at night, making sure I get everything good. Because tomorrow morning I'm going to get a mani-pedi. I'm going to just do such awesome things. And I'm so glad I got this. And I had 2 jobs at the time. So I was trying to get everything ready to leave that midnight. So long story short, I had a couple of friends that were meeting me from New York and from other parts of the country. We're going to meet in El Salvador to take one of our 3 legs to Paraguay. So I'm in bed that morning and my phone's buzzing. It's buzzing and it's buzzing. And I'm like, why is my phone buzzing at 3, 4 in the morning? So why is my phone buzzing? And they're asking me, Velia, where are you? We're at this gate. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? The flight's not till tomorrow. Well, I made the mistake of assuming or thinking, I don't even know what possessed me, to think that the flight was at midnight that night, not the night before. So January 28th at 11:59, it's still January 28th, but at midnight, it's January 29th. So I missed my flight. I jumped out of bed, hadn't even packed it, because remember, I was going to prep it for the whole day. I got clothes, and mind you, my plane's already gone. It's somewhere, and I'm getting my clothes, and I'm just throwing my clothes in the bag, and I just start talking to myself so horribly. I think about it now, and it brings tears to my eyes, but I'm not going to cry today, guys. I'm not going to cry. So in the moment, I panicked. I jumped out of bed, and I'm telling myself, what are you doing? The plane's already gone. Why are you still packing? And I'm thinking to myself, you're so dumb. What kind of educated person are you? What kind of coach are you? Only an idiot misses their flight. That was such a stupid oversight. I mean, I talked to myself the worst I had ever talked to myself. And it was horrible. And just thinking about it now, I'm like, what was wrong with you? Like, what were you thinking? I felt like the biggest loser. And I said, you have been picked out of a number of coaches to go change leaders in another country. And you can't even get on your own flight. So I felt defeated. I felt like a loser. I felt like this person. I was just like, who are you and who do you think you are? So enough of the name calling, because it got way uglier than stupid, let me tell you, which was not funny, not fun. Something inside of me just told me, shut up. Shut up. You made a mistake. You're not perfect. Call the airline. I had a friend and said, don't worry. Call them and see what they say. So I called the airline and they told me, ma'am, don't worry about it. We're going to change your flight. I mean, the flight was very expensive, so I was freaking out. Oh, I'm going to put my family back. And just a bunch of things went through my mind. And they changed my flight. Oh, yeah, we have another flight going on tomorrow. We can book you on that one. And everything was fine and dandy, perfect customer service. And I hung up and I said, oh, my gosh. I nearly almost killed myself, talking to myself as bad as I did. And it was a really, really bad experience. I had never spoken to myself that way. The next day, I get on an airplane and I fly to Paraguay, and I trained over 500 people. Those 500 turned into thousands. I went to corporations, and I was just amazed at what God did. I got on 3 planes by myself, 5-6 hour flights each, sitting and being uncomfortable, whatever, but I was not going to let that fear stop me. I had talked to myself the way that I did. I was super afraid, but it wasn't about me. It was about God. And if he allowed me to get to where I needed to get, I couldn't sit there and not do anything with what he had given me. So that was last year, right around this time actually. And had I listened to those negative thoughts, had I allowed fear to sit, reside, and overtake me, I would not have been used to make the impact that I made. And it wasn't about me, it was about him. But more and more I see how he opens doors. But he doesn't open them if we don't walk through. He does that. He puts things here and he says, okay, now step a little further. You guys remember for those parents where your babies are walking? And you're like, come here, and you put something in your hand so they can walk towards it? That's how I picture God in my head. I see him with like awesomeness, and he's like, okay, Velia, it's right here. And he's not teasing me. It's here. I just need you to take a couple of steps. And I've been put in very uncomfortable places, but I've taken steps. Because I remember hitting the pillow at night and having my regrets. I remember asking God to bless me, to expand my territory. And here is an opportunity to go to Paraguay and train thousands. And I missed my flight. You know, what kind of person who's going to develop leaders and train and make this movement misses their flight? Like, who does that? And I could have sat with that loser feeling and loser status for the rest of my life because it was a big deal. But God shows something else, and I stepped out of faith and afraid and everything else. Can't even tell you. I share with my friends, like, I can't even believe the words that came out of my mouth. I was so mean to myself. And I know that people do that now. I know I called my husband, and I'm like, I'm such a loser, and what the hell's wrong with me? And he said, don't worry, if it's meant for you to go, you're going to go. And I'm like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't even get it. You know, and I got mad at him. Like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. This is a huge deal. Well, God made a way. He placed 3 planes, and he made it happen. And all I had to do was pack my bag and get on those planes. He provided the words. He provided the people. He provided everything. Everything. And I can tell you that my life was changed like never before on that trip. And those people impacted me more than I could have ever impacted them. While I was in training, the training was about having a positive attitude and how you cannot control what other people do or say, but the only thing that we can control is our reaction to them. So God used my horrible, I missed a plane story, my negative self-talk, my fear. He used all that in training. So with every individual and every company I trained and every group I trained, I shared my story about how I felt like a loser and what I did. And despite that, I still got up and I got on the plane. So what the devil meant for bad, God meant for good. And that's the story that we have with our life. Each and every one of you needs to step on a plane. I mean, that's my fear. I don't know what yours is, but you know. And unless we face our fears, unless we say, you know what, I'm afraid of this, verbalize it. Tell yourself what you're afraid of. Write it down. How long have you been afraid of that? How many nights have you gone to bed and put your head on the pillow and regretted not taking a chance that day? You know, how many times have you guys done that? Are you done? I was done. I was done living in regret. I was done being scared. I was done feeling like I was stuck. I was done talking to myself like I'm a loser. I was done feeling like poor me. You know, you have to get done. You just have to get done. And if you guys need help getting done faster, I'll help you. Ask Monica Barajas. Sorry, Monica, I love you. I hope you feel better. But you need to be done, guys, because without that, God can't work. You got to get out of his way. And I say because I've lived it. I've lived it, and I've been fortunate enough to see so many other people live it. And oh my gosh, great things happen. Does life get easier? Not always. But you get easier. Your ways get easier. You see, it's funny because you'll see a roadblock like that. I've seen so many walls. I'm like, okay, how am I going to get around this wall? You know? And I take a moment and I sit back. You're done, Monica? So we do that. But here's the thing. Sometimes you can't do it by yourself, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you can't do it by yourself eventually one day. But we need people to come alongside of us. And I'm that way. Like when I went through college, I had to have study groups all the time. And, you know, my friends here, she'll tell you, every exam, every paper that's due, I had to get together with her. Her and I had to get together. And yes, we probably could have done it by ourselves, but something about the power of 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, it just for some of us it's just so powerful. You know, we have people that can learn on their own. That's fine. I'm the kind that needs a group. And that's why it's tugging at my heart to get us together and to really sit down and say, what are your roadblocks? What are your challenges? What are you struggling with? And let's just knock it out. Let's just be done. Let's get you to where you're done, so God can start doing amazing things in your life, because, oh man, he's ready. And I shared with you last time, like, I see God kind of standing by, like, are you done? Are you done? So I want you to picture yourself. I want you to picture God in front of you. I really want you to think about what it looks like when, you know, mom or dad try to teach a baby how to walk, how they have something there and they're holding on, right? The babies are holding on, they're walking through and they're holding on to the little walls and the chairs, but eventually they have to let go. Are you ready to let go? Like, are you ready to trust God? Because all he wants to do is to feel the desires of your heart. And again, we talk about, don't you dare tell God what it is that he's limited to. You don't know. If you would have told me 4 or 5 years ago everything I would have accomplished today, I would have thought you were crazy. You know? But that's just it. God doesn't fit in a box. He doesn't do what you think he's going to do. He does what he says he's going to do. And he just needs us to partner up. Okay? It's been awesome, ladies, as always. I cried a little bit, so I did a lot better this time. So excited that you are here. I'm so excited that you are prepared to see what God's design for your life is, because you've lived in the shadows for long, guys, and it's time. It's time to be done. And when you're ready to be done, I'll be here, along with other amazing, 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 powerful women that want more out of life. We want more so we can give more, so God can increase what he's doing, and for you to just live life to the fullest. I love you guys. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. If you have not downloaded the Setting a Direction file on the Live to Build, make sure you guys download it. That's your homework. I'm going to start giving homework. I need to know that you guys are done, that this is serious. I'm super, super excited to see what's going on now, behind the scenes, and what's to come. Okay? Love you guys. Be good. Be brave. And don't forget to fight.